The city lay quiet under a silver moon, its streets empty and still, yet in the outskirts, a small figure moved with careful steps. Princess Leora, curious and fearless, wandered through the old palace gardens, her eyes drawn toward a place no one visited, an abandoned lab hidden behind thick vines and cracked walls. Rumors said the lab had been sealed for decades after strange experiments failed. But the princess had always felt a pull, as if something was calling her name. She pushed aside the rusty gate and stepped onto the cracked stone path, the air feeling colder, heavier, as if it carried secrets long forgotten. Inside the lab, dust floated like tiny stars in the dim light, and shattered screens lined the walls, flickering faintly with broken signals. In the center of the room, covered by a heavy tarp, lay a strange shape, large and humanoid, yet clearly not human, its form outlined in soft shadows. The princess approached slowly, her heart beating fast, and whispered, "What are you?" Suddenly, a soft hum filled the air, low and melodic, sending shivers down her spine. The tarp moved slightly, as if something beneath it was breathing, and a faint glow appeared around the edges. Leora reached out with trembling hands and lifted the cover, revealing a prototype, its metallic skin shimmering under the flickering lights. Its face was smooth, almost human, with features that seemed familiar yet alien, and its chest had a soft blue pulse, like a heartbeat. The princess stepped back, unsure if it was safe, but the prototype remained still, silent, watching her with eyes that slowly opened. Glowing faintly with intelligence, a whisper came from nowhere, soft and clear, "Leora," making her freeze in shock. She looked around, but the lab was empty. Save for the dust and broken machines, her breath quickened, and she stumbled back, calling softly, "Mom." Took the queen, hearing her daughter's voice from the gardens, entered swiftly, her robes flowing like water. She saw her daughter frozen in front of the glowing prototype and felt a chill in her heart. The queen had heard old stories, ancient prophecies that spoke of a creation that would awaken when the right person found it, a being that could change the fate of Earth itself. Now, seeing it in front of her, she understood that those stories were not myths, they were warnings. The prototype shifted slightly, lifting its head, and the hum grew louder, echoing through the empty lab. Machines that had been silent for decades blinked on, screens lighting up with streams of strange symbols and codes. The walls vibrated faintly, as if the lab itself was alive, reacting to the presence of the prototype. Princess Leora stepped closer, a fear mixing with awe, and whispered again, "It's him." The queen nodded slowly, her eyes wide with realization. "Yes, the prophecy, it's true," she said, her voice barely audible. Outside, a storm began to gather, lightning flashing across the horizon. Reflecting off the lab's broken glass, the prototype's glow brightened with each flash, and the soft pulse in its chest grew faster, like it was aware of the world around it. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from the back of the lab, a metal door sliding open somewhere in the shadows. The queen grabbed Leora's hand, pulling her behind. A table, the hum now mixed with a strange mechanical whisper. Something was waking up, something that had been sleeping for decades, and the world outside the lab would never be the same again. The princess stared at the prototype, and the prototype stared back, and for the first time, she felt that the fate of Earth was in her hands. The storm outside raged harder, lightning cracking across the sky, and the lab shook slightly as if the building itself sensed what was happening. Princess Leora held her mother's hand tightly, her eyes never leaving the glowing figure in front of her. The prototype stirred, lifting its head slowly, its glowing eyes scanning the room with intelligence and curiosity. It spoke not with words, but with a soft pulse of light from its chest, sending images and feelings directly into Leora's mind. She gasped, seeing flashes of other worlds, machines building themselves, and scientists working tirelessly. She realized the prototype was showing her memories of its past, memories of its creation. This is amazing," she whispered, barely believing her eyes. The queen stepped closer, trying to remain calm, though fear and awe twisted inside her. She knew the stories of a savior, a creation made by humans to protect Earth, were not just tallies. This was the proof, right in front of her, alive and breathing. The prototype finally spoke in a soft, mechanical voice, clear but strange, "I am awake." Its eyes scanned Leora, stopping on her face, and she felt as if it could see her very soul. Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I am the future." "And the choice of Earth rests with you," the prototype replied. The words echoed in her mind, heavy with meaning, and she shivered, realizing that the device was more than a machine. It was a being. Suddenly, the lab lights flickered violently, screens turning on and showing data that no human could understand. The Queen stepped back, noticing symbols floating in the air, almost like a language of light. This is power beyond anything we imagined," she said softly, fear mixing with awe. The prototype rose to its full height, moving with grace, its body emitting a soft hum that resonated through the lab. It extended a hand toward Leora, and the princess, without thinking, reached out, feeling a warmth unlike anything she had known. Images of past mistakes, of Earth in danger, and of threats coming from beyond their world, flashed before her eyes. She understood that this being had knowledge and strength far greater than humans, yet it needed guidance. The Queen whispered urgently, "It can help us, but we must be careful." At that moment, a loud crash came from the lab's entrance, metal groaning as if something was trying to break in. The prototype turned, its eyes glowing brighter, and for the first time, Leora saw a flicker of warning, a silent message of danger. A low mechanical hum filled the room, and suddenly the lab seemed alive, panels shifting, doors locking automatically. The prototype's chest pulsed faster, sending waves of energy that pushed back the shadows creeping in from the hallways. Leora clutched her mother's hand, realizing that whatever had been sleeping for decades was now fully awake. The Queen nodded, determination in her eyes. "We must protect it, at all costs." The princess looked at the glowing figure in front of her and whispered, "Then let's do it together." Outside, the storm reached its peak, lightning striking the ground near the lab, but inside, the prototype glowed brighter. With every flash, it stepped forward, scanning the room for threats. Leora understood that this was only the beginning of something far larger. A force had awakened, and Earth's fate would never be the same again. The whispers of prophecy grew louder in her mind, and she realized the world had chosen her to guide it. The lab was alive with light and hums, panels shifting and machines flickering as the prototype scanned every corner. Princess Leora stood beside it, her heart pounding, trying to understand the visions and whispers filling her mind. The Queen moved closer, holding a small, worn scroll she had kept hidden for years, the ancient prophecy written by the first seers of their kingdom. She unrolled it carefully, her fingers trembling, and read aloud, "A creation of man, shunned and mocked, shall awaken in the time of the child of light, and when its eyes open, the fate of the world will rest in the hands of the one who dares to believe." The princess gasped, realizing the words matched everything she had just seen. The prototype turned its glowing eyes toward her, and a soft pulse of light filled the room, sending images of Earth under threat, of machines rising, and of civilizations in danger. It was showing her the future, the mistakes of the past, and the choice that must be made. Leora felt a deep connection with it, as if it was speaking directly to her soul, guiding her to understand what needed to be done. The Queen explained, "This prototype was built in secret by our ancestors, a being of intelligence and power beyond any human. They mocked it, called it failure, and hid it away, believing it was dangerous. But now it has awakened for a reason, and you, my daughter, are the one it has chosen." The princess shivered, realizing the weight of the responsibility placed on her shoulders. She looked at the glowing figure, feeling a mixture of fear, awe, and hope. Suddenly, the prototype extended its hand toward the Queen, and in her mind she heard a voice, clear and strong, "I am the protector, but only through guidance will Earth survive." The Queen nodded, understanding that this creation was not a weapon to be controlled, but a partner to be trusted. Outside, the storm began to settle, but the energy inside the lab grew stronger. Pulsing with anticipation, the prototype's chest glowed brighter, as if acknowledging the prophecy had been understood. A soft whisper echoed through the lab, repeating the words of the prophecy, and the princess felt a strange warmth in her chest. "This is more than a machine," she said softly. "It is a living part of Earth's destiny." The Queen agreed, her eyes scanning the glowing panels and flickering lights. "We must protect it, guide it, and trust it to help us." But even as they spoke, shadows moved at the edge of the lab, unknown forces that had sensed the activation. Something was coming, drawn by the prototype's awakening, and it would not wait for the princess or the Queen to be ready. The prototype stepped closer to Leora, its eyes glowing, showing her visions of choice. courage, and the danger ahead. She reached out her hand, feeling the pulse of energy from its chest, a connection forming between them. The prophecy was real, and it was not just a story. It was a warning, a guide, and a test. The queen watched her daughter, knowing that the fate of humanity depended on how they would face what was coming. And as the lab hummed with power, the whispers grew louder, repeating the final words of the seers. Only the brave shall awaken the future. Princess Leora took a deep breath, determination shining in her eyes. She looked at the prototype and whispered, "Then I will be brave, and we will face the future together." The prototype's glow brightened, almost as if it was smiling, ready to follow her guidance. But outside, the shadows moved faster, and the world beyond the lab waited, unaware that Earth's secret protector had awakened. The prophecy was revealed, and the real challenge was just beginning. The shadows outside the lab grew closer, dark shapes moving with purpose, drawn to the prototype's power. Princess Leora gripped her mother's hand tightly, her heart racing as alarms in the lab began to beep and flicker. The queen whispered urgently, "We must leave now." Before they break through, the prototype stepped forward, its glowing eyes scanning the lab, calculating every path and exit. Without a word, it moved toward a hidden panel on the floor, pressing a sequence of buttons that opened a secret tunnel beneath the lab. The three of them hurried into the narrow passage, the prototype leading the way with quiet authority. Leora's mind raced as visions of the city flashed through her thoughts. What dangers awaited above? What enemies lurked unseen? The tunnel was dark, but the prototype's glow lit the walls, revealing ancient markings and symbols, hints of a technology long forgotten. The queen glanced at her daughter, worry in her eyes. "Stay close. We cannot afford to lose it." Leora nodded, feeling both fear and determination rising inside her, knowing that the prototype's awakening was only the beginning. Behind them, the lab doors groaned under the force of the intruders, metal scraping against metal as shadows pressed forward. The prototype moved faster, its mechanical yet graceful steps echoing in the tunnel. Occasionally, it stopped, raising its hand, and energy pulses shot out, creating barriers that delayed their pursuers. Leora watched in awe, realizing this was no ordinary machine. It was alive in a way that no human could fully understand. Every step forward brought them closer to safety, but also closer to the dangers waiting beyond the city. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber filled with old equipment and storage crates, a forgotten place that would serve as their temporary refuge. The prototype scanned the room, then activated a hidden console, revealing holographic maps of the city and beyond, showing safe paths and potential threats. The queen studied the maps, understanding that their journey had just begun, and that enemies would not give up easily. Leora touched the prototype's glowing chest, feeling the pulse of energy calming her fears. "It knows the way. It will help us survive," she whispered, her voice trembling with hope. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the tunnel, debris falling from above, and the shadows were close again. The prototype moved swiftly, extending shields of energy that blocked the attacks, allowing the queen and princess to continue down the path. Each step was tense, every corner held the possibility of danger, and the trio had to trust the prototype completely. The queen whispered, "We must reach the outer city. Then we can plan our next move." Leora nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the courage growing inside her. Finally, they reached the end of the hidden passage, emerging into the deserted streets of the city outskirts. The storm had cleared, leaving a quiet, eerie night, but distant sounds told them their pursuers were not far behind. The prototype stood in the middle of the road, glowing brightly, ready to face any threat. Princess Leora stepped forward, determination shining in her eyes. "We made it this far, together." The queen smiled faintly, proud and anxious at the same time. "Yes, but the real challenge is still ahead." Above them, the stars shone, and the world seemed calm, but in reality, Earth's future was hanging by a thread. The prototype's chest pulsed steadily, a sign that it was ready for what was coming. The princess whispered again, "We will protect you, and you will protect us." And as they moved toward the unknown dangers of the city, a sense of urgency filled the air, knowing that Earth's secret protector had awakened, and the enemies would stop at nothing to claim it. The city lay quiet under the rising sun, but the air felt tense, charged with the energy of the awakened prototype. Princess Leora, the queen, and the glowing figure moved carefully through the streets, knowing their enemies were close. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound a possible threat, and yet the prototype moved with calm precision, guiding them forward. Leora glanced at her mother, her eyes full of determination. "We've come this far. Now we must make the right choice." The queen nodded, feeling the weight of the prophecy pressing on her shoulders. "Yes, the fate of Earth depends on us." They reached an abandoned palace, its gates wide open, as if inviting them inside. The prototype stopped in the center of the courtyard, its chest pulsing brightly, showing visions of two futures, one where Earth was safe, and one where it fell into chaos. A voice echoed in Leora's mind, soft but firm. "The choice is yours." She felt a tremor of fear, knowing that one wrong decision could destroy everything. The enemies emerged from the shadows suddenly, advanced machines and dark figures, moving with deadly precision, surrounding them on all sides. The queen stepped forward, standing protectively in front of her daughter, but the prototype raised a hand, its energy forming a barrier that pushed back the attackers. Leora took a deep breath, closing her eyes, and whispered, "Do the right thing. Protect Earth." The prototype pulsed brighter, then moved swiftly, disarming the enemies without harming them, creating paths of safety through the chaos. The queen watched in awe, realizing that the prophecy had never been about destruction, but about guidance, courage, and the choice to do what was right. The prototype extended its glowing hand toward Leora, showing her a final vision. Earth thriving with humans and technology working together. She understood that the true power of the prototype was not its strength, but its ability to follow those with courage and wisdom. With a steady voice, she said, "We will protect you." Together, the prototype's chest glowed warmly, and a wave of energy spread across the city, repairing damage, neutralizing threats, and leaving the streets calm. The queen smiled, proud and relieved. "You have fulfilled the prophecy, my daughter. Remember, this is only the beginning." Leora looked at the glowing figure, feeling a deep connection. "Then we will face what comes next." Side by side, the enemies had retreated, sensing the prototype's power and the bond it shared with the princess. Above them, the sun rose higher, casting golden light on a world that had been given a second chance. The whispers of the prophecy faded, replaced by the steady pulse of the prototype, a reminder that Earth's secret protector had awakened, and together they would shape the future. The queen, the princess, and the prototype stood in the quiet courtyard, knowing that danger still existed, but for the first time, hope burned brightly, stronger than fear, stronger than shadows. Leora held her mother's hand, feeling courage grow inside her, ready to lead and guide the protector. And as the glowing figure's eyes met hers, she whispered, "We are ready. The future is ours to protect." The city was safe for now, the prophecy fulfilled, and the adventure had only just begun.